Just say, break.
Short takes. You know what's going on. You see what he putting up for. The anti that work. Straight to the point as we always do. DR.COMARK in the building, aka the brother, the doctor, the brother from another. I go, man. But let's talk about it. So, man, we seen or ran across an Instagram post. Actually, DR.COMARK came across this from the lovely Shade Room. Shout out to the Shade Room about a post that Dez Bryant had about breaking generational curses. Now, since DR.COMARK knows more about the NFL and this guy and what's going on in the post, I would like for him to walk us through this. DR.COMARK, can you talk to the people one time?
Yeah, first out, shout out to Dez Bryant throwing up the X.
When you break the 100, you better find number 88.
Mr. 88, Mr. Cowboy himself, Mr. I caught that ball. Y'all know what I'm saying. You know, Packers. I know we lost to them again, but you know, that's in the past.
That will do it. They come into Dallas. They had them their first loss here all year, and the number 7 seed.
We're not gonna talk about the past no more.
Anyways,
Dez Bryant read a message out to everybody about breaking generational curses.
Just say, break generational curses. Quit yelling at your kids before they go to bed and expect them to sleep well. Quit yelling at your kids in the morning right after they wake up before school and expect them to have a good day. You set the tone for your children. You set the tone you set the tone for your voice. They will always remember in their heads. You become their inner voice. Don't be the inner critic.
I.e., not waking up yelling at your kids, not yelling at your kids before they, go to bed and, whooping your kids, things of that nature. He's trying to break those generational curses because he didn't get that when he was growing up, which I concur in some natures. So 50-50, 60-40.
I want to ask you real quick. You got your ass whooped a lot growing up, huh?
I got my ass whooped. And so I understand where he's coming from, and I understand like what he was saying with breaking some of those generational curses because of the fact that I do myself, i.e. try to break some of those generational curses and want to convey some of those, and did convey some of those with my kids. My first 3 kids may not have got, some of that because they did get their ass whooped, growing up until a certain point. When they got to the point where I think their understanding grew and they understand where I was coming from, where I didn't have to, whoop them or discipline them in a way where I knew that their developmental stage was at that point.
Speak life, speak love, speak bravery, kindness and hope, speak wisdom and truth. Most of all, listen to your children. I never had none of that. I get that to mine. And that's my number one priority. I follow that. That's how I break it.
I believe I didn't have to do some of the things that my parents did to me. And that's where I think some of that generational curse come from. And now I have 2 younger kids, ages 10 and 5, right now that I think don't get the same discipline as they do, that still don't have that understanding and probably need their ass whooped a little bit more. Excuse my language. They don't work that way. So sometimes you need to be that disciplinary, parent, or need a 50-50 parent, a mom or a dad who has that understanding where, back in the day where our parent gave us that look like, I'll beat your ass, and so, you have that. I understand where he's coming from. And shout out to Dez Bryant for trying to break those generational curses. And anybody else who's trying that and it's working out for you, because it has worked, in my favor, and it has turned against me in my favor too at some point in time. So I do understand them. Shout out to you, X. Shout out to you, brother.
Shout out to you, brother. I'm not gonna lie, man. Hearing this sound like a different parenting when it comes from the South and the North. Now, my folks are from Belzoni, Mississippi, so they don't mind sparing a little leather from time to time. So I feel you on that. even though I'm not a person who whoop children, I get where you coming from, but everybody gonna look at it different. With me, I think boot camp really gave me the biggest philosophy when it comes to disciplining children. Because after boot camp, I don't think I never have to ever hit my kid again. It's really how you psych the mind. Now remember, this is my opinion. Everybody has their own technique, what they feel like, or how they will raise their children if they become unruly. But to this day, man, I never whoop none of my kids. I might flick the ear or something. You know what I'm saying? That I might flick the forehead to get that attention. You know, I'm definitely I'm a severe flicker. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you got to just get that attention a little bit. You know what I mean? But I think probably the roughest I was, if I'm being honest, was on my nephews. My nephews, they was some knuckleheads coming up in the city, so you know I was kind of more doing some gut checks a little bit, but I wasn't doing like how my big brother doing. Rest in peace, but if you watching this from heaven to hell, bro, you know you was you was rough, bro. You was rough as hell, but I wasn't like that. But you know, sometimes nephews they like to try themselves. You know how kids be. So I feel you on that. But luckily, I will say I never had to, and hopefully I would never really had to engage with my. Well, I told you I come out to, had to snuff my son because the mitt y'all. If you did boxing before, whoever did boxing, y'all know them mitts big as hell. Y'all know the mitts big as hell. My son, no lie, right? He wasn't even that tight. My son missed my face, like the whole face. No, excuse me, he missed the mitt. The whole mitt, the mitt bigger than my hand, and he hit me dead in the face, like right in the face. Yo, I was so heated, dog. Like, you don't know how mad I was. I like, dog, that he just snuffed me on the low. Like, nah, I remember he like 14 at the time, so like, yeah, he kind of old enough to get punched in the gut a little bit. But I ain't gonna lie, like camera YouTuber, nah, I would have snuffed him for real. But I have to remember that's my youngin. But yo, he did, you know. But we had to deal with that. Yeah, that's what happened right in the gut, just right in the gut. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, like I never had to discipline no kids. That was the interaction I hope we would ever have. And it's funny because after he went home for the summer, he said, "Dad, I ain't gonna lie." He said, "Yo, I'm starting to feel like that dude felt in the gym when you punched him in the gut." He was like, "Man, like you really hurt me." I was like, "Yo, listen, bro. When I get that dude in the gym in boxing, you ain't even get close. You know what I'm saying? But that just give you a pre-warn up. You know what I'm saying? Boy, I oughta." But all jokes aside, man, I think what I would say in closure, if I pass it back to Dr. Comar, is very simple. Listen to your kids. Take time to explain things to your children. I think we come from that society, especially the '80s babies, like do that because I told you so. And nobody give no full explanations. I think what helps, in my opinion, is when you can fully express something to a child in a child's language. Now, again, some parents, y'all don't understand a child language as of yet, and some of y'all will never know. But it is ways to talk to children without being too soft or too stern. But that's just my opinion. Dr. Comark, got anything to follow behind that outside of the
Yeah, sometimes you do have to, what we say, get down to that level. Sit down and talk to them eye to eye and explain to them in a way that they do understand. And sometimes you're gonna get frustrated because they don't understand. You try to give it to them in layman's terms and talk to them in Naruto language, or you know what's I don't know what the other kid, some other kid's name that they watching or something, whatever that they can understand. But it's hard when you got some kids that don't want to understand and they want to push back when you're trying to give it to them. It might take you 4 and 5 and 6 times for them to understand, and they might give you feedback that you don't want to understand, but it's kind of hard. But
I
over the
agree.
time, and once they start getting older, they'll start understanding. And you also got to understand too that these kids are your DNA, unless they're not your DNA. You're fostering kids, or you got step kids, step parents, and adopted children. You have to understand that some of these are your attitudes and your DNA that you, and think back how you were and what you was going through at that age and stuff like that. So how hard was it for you to understand, and what was you doing at that age? So take time and take the steps back, and if you can't get it, take a step back and then come back to it.
In the words of Dr. Comark, hug someone, love someone. And in this case, it should be your children. Anti-network, short takes. I don't even know why I do this with my hand. I just thought it was something cool for the camera, but short takes.